Okay, so when we're talking about complex numbers, remember we're talking about an imaginary and a real number, so like 4 plus 2i. And today we're going to add, we're going to subtract, we're going to multiply, and we're going to divide. We're going to cross out this first part because actually that is not in our curriculum. So we're going to move on to adding and subtracting complex numbers. When you add, you just drop the parentheses and just treat them like terms. So if they have an I attached to it, for example, you can add 7i plus 3i, and that gives you 10i. It's just like when you have 3x plus 4x is 7x, okay? If you have I plus 2i, if you don't see a coefficient, there is one here, that's a 1. So this would be 3i, okay? So when we're doing this with adding, we could just drop the parentheses. Remember, we need to put an a plus or minus bi form. So we're going to take 7 plus 4, which is 11, plus, and then we have 3i minus I equals what? 2i. Now, if you remember when we subtracted polynomials, what do you need to do with the negative? You have to distribute. So remember, when you subtract, you have to distribute the negative. Okay? So I'm going to bring down 8 plus 3i. This is going to be negative 2 and negative 4i. And then now I just combine like terms. So 8 minus 2 is 6, plus 3i minus 4i. Oops, that's a negative I. So basically it's 6 minus I. When you get to C here, you are subtracting. You bring down 3 plus 6i, and again, we're going to distribute the negative. So we have minus 4, and negative times negative is a positive 8i. So now we look at our real numbers. We could do 3 minus 4 is negative 1, and 6i plus 8i is plus 14i. Nothing. I just put a 1 there because some people were maybe taught that way. Okay, so the last one is adding. So you just drop the parentheses. So you can rewrite it if you want. You don't have to. You have 5 minus 2 is 3, and 7i plus 6i is 13i. So adding and subtracting is really just like when you have like terms, which you've done in the past. Now multiplying complex numbers is going to be the same thing. Remember, when you have x times x, that gives you x squared. Same thing with your i's. When you take I times I, you're going to get I squared. The only difference is we know that I squared equals negative 1. So whenever you see an I squared, you need to replace it with a negative 1. Okay? So when we look at this first one here and we say 3i times 8i, that equals 24i squared. And so now whenever you see I squared, we replace it with what? Negative 1. And that means we're going to multiply. So this becomes 24 times negative 1, which equals negative 24. Now this one we're going to end up distributing. Now, I don't know how some of you were taught in the past, but I'm going to show you 2 ways to distribute, using a box method and just using the arrows that you're used to. So here you could take 3 times 2, which is 6, and 3 minus times negative 4a is negative 12. I don't know why I said a. And here is negative 14i and plus 28i squared. Now, 28i squared, well, you have 28 times, what does I squared equal? Negative 1. So this turns into a negative 28. So now 6 minus 28 gives us a negative 22, and then negative 12i minus 14i is negative 26i. Now, when I had Algebra 1, I taught my students that they can use this or this box method. It's called a Punnett square. And you don't have to do this. If you're comfortable with just distributing each number and writing it across, that's fine. But here's another method for those of you who have trouble with the signs. When I have 4 minus 9i and 4 plus 3i. Any of your teachers ever taught you this before? Okay. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times negative 9i is negative 36i. 3i times 4 is 12i. And this is negative 27i squared. The nice thing about the box method is that you'll see that your like terms are right here. And then negative 27i squared, what will that turn into? A positive 27 because I squared equals negative 1. So this turns into a positive 27. So now we can go this way and take 16 plus 27, which is what? Anyone? Okay, 43. And then 12i minus 36i is negative 24i. The last one here, we have 6 minus 5i squared. So let's go ahead and copy it twice because that's what it means. So if you like the box method, then go ahead and write the box method. If you want to distribute across, you can do that. So we take 6 times 6 is 36. This gives us negative 30i. This is negative 30i, and this is positive 25i squared. Now, since I squared equals negative 1, this turns into 25 times negative 1, which is negative 25. So 36 minus 25 gives you 11, and negative 30i and negative 30i is negative 60i.